From the dawn before time, one spirit rose in pride and defiance, Melkor, later called Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. In Echoes of Middle-earth, we uncover the origins of his fall and the shadow he cast over all creation. If you enjoy journeys into Tolkien's deepest lore, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. Part 1. The Genesis of Discord. In the time before the earth took shape, before stars were kindled, there existed only the timeless halls of Ilúvatar, the Creator. In this boundless realm, Eru brought forth the Ainur, the Holy Ones, who were spirits born of his thought. Among these celestial beings, who included both the Valar and the Maiar, one stood supreme in power and knowledge, Melkor. Melkor, meaning he who arises in might, was granted the greatest gifts, possessing something of all Eru's powers. He comprehended the deep fires of creation, the nature of the void and the flame, the heights and the depths. In those early days, the other great Ainur, such as Manwë, Varda, Aule the smith, and Yavanna the giver of fruits, looked to Melkor with reverence for his wisdom. However, within this very greatness lay the seeds of corruption. Melkor grew impatient, pondering the things Eru had not revealed, especially the mysterious power of creation, the flame imperishable, also known as the secret fire. While others accepted this mystery with reverence, Melkor's hunger to know grew stronger. He began to seek the flame in the void, venturing into the emptiness beyond the timeless halls, hoping to claim this secret for himself. In his lonely wanderings, cold thoughts began to settle in his heart. He questioned why he, the mightiest, should remain dependent on Eru's will. He began to cultivate rebellious ideas, wanting to create life and shape worlds according to his own design. He concealed these thoughts, but he began to see his companions not as partners in wonder, but as rivals or servants. His heart grew cold, a chill that would one day freeze the world's foundations. The stage for the greatest tragedy of creation was set when Eru gathered the Ainur and revealed a great theme of music. He proposed a grand symphony encompassing melodies of joy and sorrow, struggle and triumph. Though magnificent, Melkor perceived that this theme was not his own creation, and his pride rebelled. Why should he merely play the part assigned? When the music began, the foundations of reality trembled with its beauty. Manwë sang of the winds, Ulmo of the ocean depths, and Aule contributed the rhythm of shaping stone. Melkor initially sang with skill, weaving his mighty voice through the parts. But gradually, he began to introduce variations of his own devising, weaving discord into the foundations of creation, clashing violently with the theme of Ilúvatar. At first, some Ainur, uncertain of their own roles, shifted their music to Melkor's tune, believing his skill undeniable. For a time, the theme of Ilúvatar and the discord of Melkor battled one another. Then Eru smiled and sent forth a second theme, one more beautiful and terrible, weaving counter-melodies that transformed Melkor's dissonance, making it serve purposes he never intended. Infuriated, Melkor opposed this theme even more violently. He sang of eternal cold, where Eru sang of warmth, of vast emptiness, where the Creator envisioned fullness. Many Ainur stopped singing altogether, overwhelmed by the conflict. Finally, Eru began a third theme, sweeter and more beautiful than the previous two. Melkor perceived in this theme the promise of sacrifice and redemption, of light that no darkness could permanently extinguish, but his fury quickly returned. He sang of vast machines of war, of enslaved multitudes, and of beauty twisted into horror. Then Eru stopped the music completely with a single immense chord, piercing the very firmament. Eru rebuked Melkor, declaring that while Melkor was mighty, he would see that no theme could be played that did not originate in the Creator. Furthermore, anyone attempting to alter the music against Eru's will would prove only to be his instrument in devising things more wonderful than they had imagined. Melkor was shamed and angered by this rebuke, but hid his feelings. When Eru presented the vision of Arda, the earth, created by their music, Melkor saw how his discord had left marks on the material world, regions of bitter cold and dangerous mountains. He saw his rebellions woven into a pattern greater than his own design. Melkor begged Eru to allow him to enter Arda. He pretended a desire to guide the world for Eru's glory, but secretly he desired to dominate Arda and its creatures, especially the forthcoming children of Ilúvatar, the Elves and men. Along with the other Vala, they entered Ea, the created universe, making his way to Arda. Part 2. Master of Arda and the First Destruction. The moment Melkor arrived in Arda, his facade dropped. He declared to the other Valar that he was now master of Arda. Manwë, Melkor's brother, feared he would disrupt their labors and called forth more Ainur to protect them. Melkor left, making his way to remote regions. During the shaping of the world, Melkor continuously sought to destroy or taint anything the Valar created. He demolished their mountains, razed their valleys, and spilled their seas. The works of Aule, the smith, were among those most affected by Melkor's destructive deeds. After uncounted battles and years, a period spanning well over 14,000 years in our reckoning, news reached the remaining Ainur. Tulkas, the most warlike of the Valar, came to Arda. Melkor fled before the anger and laughter of Tulkas, escaping beyond the walls of night. From that moment, Melkor possessed an enduring hatred for Tulkas. The remaining Valar worked to restore Arda as best they could. They completed their initial work and raised two great lamps, Ilúin in the north and Ormal in the south, to give the world light. They settled in a land called Almarin. Unfortunately, Melkor's power had already earned him a following among some of the Maiar, which likely included Sauron. These followers acted as his spies. While the Valar held a feast to celebrate their completed work, which included the marriage of Tulkas and Nessa, Melkor saw his chance. As Nessa danced, Tulkas fell into a peaceful sleep. Melkor and his followers returned over the walls of night. He delved deep into the earth in the Iron Mountains of the north, creating the fortress of Utumno. Evil, death, and illness flowed from the fortress, striking at vegetation and causing animals to fight and kill one another. The Valar realized Melkor had returned. The Valar began searching for his hiding place, but Melkor struck first. He came to Almarin, destroying the city and the two lamps. He assailed the pillars of Ilúin and Ormal, casting them down. The violent overthrow of the pillars broke lands and caused seas to rise in tumult, pouring destroying flame over the earth. The shape of Arda and the symmetry of its waters and lands were marred forever, and the first designs of the Valar were never restored. As the world was consumed by chaos, Melkor escaped, returning to Utumno. The spring of Arda, intended to be a joyous occasion, ended in disaster. The Valar were forced to use all their power merely to hold the world together. With their home destroyed, the Valar traveled across the sea to a new land, Aman. There they built the city of Valinor and created new sources of light, the two trees. This catastrophe marked the beginning of the Years of the Trees. Part 3. The Corruption of the Firstborn. With the Valar now across the sea in Aman, Melkor was relatively free to roam Middle-earth.
dwelling in Utumno and building his strength. He gathered the Maiar loyal to him, servants cloaked in shadow and flame who came to be known as Balrogs. During this time, he also constructed the fortress of Angband, where he placed his greatest servant, Sauron. Meanwhile, in YT 1050, the first elves awoke at Cuiviénen. While Orome, the huntsman, would eventually discover them, Melkor found them first. He ravaged the elves with fear, killing or capturing many. Through the torture of these captives and other foul works, Melkor created the race of Orcs. He could not create life, but he could corrupt and twist existing life, bending it to serve his will. When the Valar discovered the elves and their peril, Manwë concluded it was Eru's will to reclaim Middle-earth from Melkor. The Valar came to Middle-earth in YT 1090 to wage the massive war of the gods. The entire northwest region was ruined by the conflict. The Valar were victorious in the first battle, forcing Melkor's servants to retreat to Utumno.
For the next 2 years, the Valar protected the elves at Cuiviénen while laying siege to Melkor's massive fortress. Finally, in YT 1099, the Valar broke the gates and roof of Utumno. Melkor hid in the deepest pits, but Tulkas arrived and bound him with the chain Anganor, which Aule had forged. While Utumno was destroyed, the Valar did not discover all the deepest, darkest places within, allowing Sauron and many of his Balrogs to escape capture. The aftermath of the war left Middle-earth drastically changed, with new mountain ranges, a larger Great Sea, and new waterways taking shape. Melkor, bound hand and foot and blindfolded, was taken back to Valinor and brought before the Ring of Doom. He sued for pardon, but his prayer was denied. He was cast into the fastness of Mandos, a prison from which none could escape. Melkor was doomed to abide there for 3 ages long, roughly 2,850 years, plotting his revenge all the while. Part 4. The Stealing of the Light. After the 3 ages passed, Melkor was brought before Manwë again. Melkor bowed down, prostrating himself and begging for pardon. His appearance was carefully calculated to inspire pity, marked by what seemed to be genuine remorse and humility. He offered to serve the Valar in any capacity, claiming his rebellion was born only of a misguided desire to contribute to Eru's design. Manwë, unable to fully comprehend irredeemable evil, released him from captivity, much to the displeasure of Tulkas and Ulmo. Melkor was decreed to remain in Amam, under the watchful eyes of the Valar, forbidden from returning to Middle-earth. Melkor began working to corrupt the elves, for whom he held a bitter grudge, as it was for their safety that the Valar had overthrown him. He assessed the various elven kindreds, finding that the Vanyar, who would forever dwell in Aman, did not trust him, and the Teleri, shipbuilders, were too weak for his plans. He focused his efforts on the Noldor, a curious people eager to learn from the Valar. Melkor presented himself as a reformed teacher who had learned wisdom through suffering.
In YT 1169, Fëanor was born among the Noldor. Fëanor was the creator of the Palantiri and, most importantly, the Silmarils, 3 great gems that shone with the light of the 2 trees. Fëanor's genius was matched only by his pride, and Melkor used this masterfully. Melkor began subtly sowing doubts about the Valar's motivations, questioning why the elves were confined to Valinor when Middle-earth offered such vast realms they would be free to rule. This distrust and desire for independence took hold, especially in Fëanor's heart. Melkor manipulated Fëanor's pride, convincing him that his younger half-brother, Fingolfin, planned to usurp his place as heir and steal the Silmarils. The feuding escalated until Fëanor threatened to kill Fingolfin in YT 1490. The Valar banished Fëanor to Formenos, where he took the Silmarils. Finwë, his father, moved to Formenos with him. Realizing Melkor was the cause of the discord, Tulkas sought to imprison him, but Melkor had already fled.
2 years later, in YT 1492, Melkor reappeared at Formenos. He sought to further influence Fëanor, suggesting that the Silmarils would not lie safe in any treasury within the realm of the Valar. However, his cunning overreached its aim. Fëanor, perceiving the Valar's truth and Melkor's fierce lust for the gems, rejected him. Melkor fled once more, making his way south to the Valley of Avathar. There he found a mysterious dark spirit, the giant spider Ungoliant. She was a monstrous creature of endless hunger, having come from the darkness before creation, craving light and life. Melkor promised her a rich reward for her assistance, and she wove a cloak of shadow around them both to hide their travels. In YT 1495, the Valar assembled in Valmar, seeking reconciliation. It was during the festival of the Double Mirth, when both trees shone simultaneously, that Melkor and Ungoliant struck. They came before the green mound Azelohar. The unlight of Ungoliant rose up, and Melkor sprang upon the mound. With his black spear he smote each tree to its core, wounding them deep so that their sap poured forth like blood. Ungoliant then set her black beak to their wounds, sucking up the sap until they were drained. The poison of death within her withered them, root, branch, and leaf, and they died. The light of the trees was extinguished, plunging the world into darkness.
After Ungoliant drank the entirety of the wells of Varda, they went north to Formenos. There, Melkor killed Fenway and stole the Silmarils and Fëanor's other gems. Ungoliant, monstrous in size from consuming the tree's light, fled with Melkor across the Helcaraxe, the grinding ice, and into Middle-earth. Once there, her insatiable hunger led her to demand the promised treasure. Melkor, weakened by his deeds, feared the spider. He gave her the lesser gems of Fëanor, which she consumed. But when she demanded the Silmarils, Melkor refused. Ungoliant used her webs to trap him, nearly devouring the Vala. Melkor gave a great cry which summoned the Balrogs from Angband. With their whips they drove Ungoliant away and returned their master to his fortress. Melkor set the Silmarils in an iron crown, which became a great burden he would never willingly remove. Back in Aman, Fëanor returned to find his father slain and the Silmarils gone. Fëanor cursed Melkor, giving him a new name by which he would be known forever after, Morgoth, the Dark Lord, meaning Black Foe or Dark Tyrant. Morgoth, with the Silmarils upon his crown in Angband, declared himself king of all the world.
Part 5. The Wars of Beleriand.
The next 600 years were spent in relentless war between the Elves and Morgoth. Fëanor claimed kingship of the Noldor and led many into exile. Their arrival was marred by the kinslaying at Alqualande, where they slew the Teleri to claim their ships. After crossing, Fëanor burned the ships at Losgар, stranding the rest of the Noldor and drawing Morgoth's attention. Morgoth summoned orcs and werewolves in a preemptive strike, but the Noldor, wielding the power retained from Valinor, defeated the numerically superior host in the Dagor Nuin Gileath, the Battle Under Stars, so named as it happened before the creation of the sun and moon. Fëanor, pursuing the remnants of the orcs, was separated from his sons. Balrogs emerged from Thangorodrim, and Fëanor was fatally wounded by Gothmog, the lord of Balrogs, dying soon after. Maedhros, Fëanor's eldest son, became the High King. Morgoth offered a deceitful peace, capturing Maedhros and hanging him by his wrist upon a precipice of Thangorodrim for 30 years. After the sun and moon were created by the Valar, Fingolfin, Fëanor's half-brother, led the rest of the Noldor to Middle-earth. Fingolfin's son, Fingon, rescued Maedhros with the aid of Thorondor, the Lord of the Great Eagles. Maedhros yielded the High Kingship to Fingolfin.
Morgoth's subsequent armies were defeated by the Noldor in the Dagor Aglareb, the Glorious Battle. This victory allowed the Noldor to establish a formidable frontier, beginning the siege of Angband, which lasted 4 centuries. During this long peace, Morgoth realized that orcs alone could not defeat the Noldor, and he devised new creatures, the dragons. The first of these was Glaurung, who emerged in FA 260 but was driven back by elven archers. Nearly 200 years later, Glaurung returned at his full might. Morgoth unleashed great rivers of fire over Ard Galen, shattering the siege lines in the Dagor Bragolok, the Battle of Sudden Flame. Glaurung led Balrogs and Orcs, killing all in their sight. The siege was broken, and Morgoth's forces were free to roam the north of Beleriand, turning Dorthonion into the forest under Nightshade. Seeing the ruin of his people's hopes, High King Fingolfin rode alone across the scorched earth to the gates of Angband, challenging Morgoth to single combat. Morgoth, reluctant, because he alone of the Valar knew fear, issued forth, clad in black armor, his vast shield casting a shadow like a storm cloud.
Morgoth wielded Grond, the hammer of the underworld. Fingolfin, gleaming like a star in silver mail and a blue shield, sprang away from Morgoth's blows, wounding the Dark Lord 7 times with his sword Ringil. Morgoth cried out in anguish, causing the hosts of Angband to fall upon their faces. Finally, Fingolfin grew weary, and Morgoth bore his shield down upon him. Fingolfin fell, but with his last desperate stroke, he hewed Morgoth's foot with Ringil. Black and smoking blood gushed forth, filling the pits Grond had made. Morgoth was victorious, but not unscathed. He intended to feed Fingolfin's body to his wolves, but Thorondor, the Lord of the Great Eagles, rescued the body, simultaneously clawing Morgoth's face. Morgoth forever bore the limp from Ringil's wound and the scars on his face. Hope emerged decades later when the man Beren and the elf Lúthien reached Angband. Lúthien cast a spell that put Morgoth and his court to sleep. Beren cut 1 Silmaril from the Iron Crown. This singular act of bravery inspired Maedhros to attempt a massive alliance, the Union of Maedhros, to attack Morgoth. In FA 472, the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears commenced.
Morgoth employed a trap. He sent a smaller host to provoke the hidden Western army, led by Fingon. When Gwyndor and his soldiers charged recklessly in response to a terrible provocation, Fingon followed, striking at the gates of Angband. In that moment, Morgoth sprang his trap. Thousands of orcs erupted from hidden tunnels surrounding the charging forces. The battle was marked by the treachery of the Easterlings under Ulfang, who turned against Maedhros' host. Morgoth unleashed his full strength, Balrogs, dragons, and wolves. Gothmog killed Fingon in single combat. The men of Dor-Lomin, led by Hurin and Huor, formed a living wall, giving King Torgon of Gondolin time to escape with his people. Huor was killed, and Huor fought until his axe withered, killing at least 70 orcs and trolls before being captured alive. The devastation was so immense that a massive mound of bodies, known as the Hill of Tears, arose on the plains of Anfalglith. The battle was a devastating loss, marking the moment Morgoth assumed control over the entire north of Beleriand. Morgoth took Hurin captive and bound him in a stone chair upon Thangorodrim. He pronounced a curse upon Hurin and his family. "Upon all whom you love, my thought shall weigh as a cloud of doom, and it shall bring them down into darkness and despair." Morgoth forced Hurin to sit there, unable to move or die, to watch and hear the doom fall upon those he had sought to deliver.
In the coming years, Morgoth's forces continued to overthrow the remaining realms of elves and men. Glaurung sacked Nargothrond, though he was killed by Húrin's son, Túrin, whose life was marred by Morgoth's curse. The last bastion of hope for the free peoples was the hidden city of Gondolin. Maeglin, an elf of Gondolin, was captured by Orcs and brought to Angband. In the greatest betrayal of the First Age, Maeglin revealed the secret location of the city in exchange for the kingship of Gondolin and the hand of the woman Eärendil. In 510, Morgoth unleashed his armies, orcs, wolves, dragons, and Balrogs, upon Gondolin. It was an overwhelming victory for the Dark Lord. King Turgon and the vast majority of the population were killed, and Gondolin was no more.
Part 5. The War of Wrath and Final Binding.
One of the few survivors of Gondolin was Turgon's grandson, Eärendil, who made his way south to the havens of Sirion. There he married Elwing, who was the daughter of King Dior and held the last surviving Silmaril. After the third kinslaying, Elwing escaped with the Silmaril. Eärendil and Elwing sailed west on his ship, Fingolfin, and found the hidden paths to Valinor. Eärendil stood before the Valar and delivered the errand of the two kindreds. He pleaded for pardon for the Noldor, pity for their sorrows, and mercy for all men and elves. His prayer was granted. The Valar prepared the great host of Valinor for the final confrontation, the War of Wrath. The army included the Vanyar, the Noldor who had remained in Valinor, and Eönwë, the chief of the Maiar. The War of Wrath raged across northern Beleriand for 42 years with an intensity that shook the foundations of Middle-earth. Mountains were cast down, and the sky itself seemed to burn. Morgoth's armies were uncountable. In a final act of desperation, Morgoth summoned his greatest weapon, the winged dragons, led by Encalagon the Black, the largest and most powerful dragon ever created. Their sudden appearance drove back the host of Valinor, and their outlook became bleak. It was at this moment that Eärendil arrived. Wearing the Silmaril upon his brow, his ship, Fingolfin, blessed by the Valar, sailed the skies. With Thorondor and flocks of the great eagles, Eärendil battled the dragons for an entire day. Eärendil tilled Encalagon, whose massive body fell upon the towers of Thangorodrim with such force that the triple peaks were broken and the gates of Angband were laid bare. With his greatest servant destroyed and his fortress breached, Morgoth's defeat was inevitable. He fled to the deepest dungeons of Angband. Weakened by the long war, he demanded peace and parley rather than fighting. But his feet were hewn from under him. Morgoth fell and was bound once again in the chain Angainor. The two remaining Silmarils were taken from his iron crown. Morgoth was thrust through the door of night and into the timeless void, removed beyond the circles of the world. The violence of the War of Wrath was so immense that most of Beleriand sank beneath the sea.
The direct influence of the Dark Lord was removed, but his malice was not. Morgoth had woven his corruption so deeply into the very fabric of creation that it became known as the Morgoth element, a shadow that could not be entirely removed without unmaking the world. The orcs he bred continued to multiply, and the mortality of men bore the traces of his evil. Crucially, Morgoth's greatest servant, Sauron, had fled Angband before the final assault. Sauron retained the ambition and knowledge to continue Morgoth's work in a different form, seeking subtle corruption and dominion from within. Even in his defeat, Morgoth spoke of his return. It is prophesied that one day he will break the door of night and return for the final conflict, the Dagor Daggorath, the battle of all battles. Only after that final confrontation will the world be rebuilt, Beleriand lifted from the sea, and the children of Ilúvatar join the second song of the Ainur. Until that day, the history of Morgoth endures, a constant reminder that the struggle that began with the music of creation continues, and his shadow persists as both a warning and an inspiration.